Welcome back, Pauls. So, I'm really thrilled about what is going to happen in Moon Lake. Let's straightly go to the next chapter. It's chapter 10, Following a Clue. With soaring spirits, Nancy walked homeward. I wonder, she thought, how the Tophams will feel about Josiah Crawley's old clock if it costs them the inheritance they are counting on. At dinner that night, Nancy chatted with unusual animation, deciding not to tell of her exciting plans until after Hannah has served dessert. Mr. Drew, however, sensed that big news was coming. My dear, he said, laying a hand on his daughter's arm, you look like the cat that swallowed the canary. What's the big scoop? Nancy giggled. Oh, Dad, I can't keep any secrets from you. Then, as the table was cleared, the youth slid to hold of a great stroke of luck. And just think, Helen invited me to her aunt's camp. Good, her father commented, smiling. You can combine business with pleasure, Nancy. Smiling and boating and fun with girls will provide a much needed vacation. May I start first thing in the morning? His daughter asked. An excellent idea, Nancy. The change will do wonders for you. Go by all means. Hurriedly, she packed a suitcase and the next morning was off to an early start. Moon Lake was about a 50-mile drive. One way to go was past the Hoover girls' farm, and Nancy decided to stop there. As she approached the house, the young Sleeth heard singing. It was coming from the barn. How beautiful, Nancy thought, as the clear sparkle voice went through a series of thrills and flute-like scales. In a moment, the singer appeared, and Nancy teasingly applauded. Alice and I danced. Thanks, I was just trying to imitate songs of the greats. You'll be great yourself one of these days, Nancy promised. Not unless I get some money to finance lessons, Allison said. Any news, Nancy? Sort of. I've had a little luck. At this moment, Grace appeared and instantly invited Nancy to stay. But the young detective said she too had work to do. I hope to have a good report for you soon, she added and waved goodbye. Grace's face brightened and Allison declared cheerfully, Then there's still hope. We are so lucky to have you as a friend, Nancy. Come see us again soon, please. Resuming her journey, Nancy branched off from the river road and headed towards Moon Lake. As she drove along, her thoughts revolved constantly around the Crowley relatives and the Hoovers. She sighed. How different things would be from them now if Josiah Crawley hadn't been so secretive. Her revive was ended by the sudden strange action of a car. It kept veering to the left of the road in spite of her efforts to keep it in the middle. With foreboding, Nancy stopped and got out to make an inspection. As she had suspected, a rear tire was flat. Oh dear, she murmured in disgust. Such luck. Though Nancy was able to change a tire, she never realized the task. Quickly, she took out the spare tire from the rear compartment, found the jack and lug wrench, and went to work. By the time her job was completed, she was hot and a little breathless. Whew, she explained as she started as her way again. I'll be ready for a nice, cool swim in Moon Lake. It was after 12 o'clock when she came in sight of Camp Avondale, run by Helen's aunt. Though the tall trees, Nancy caught a glimpse of cabins and tents. Beyond, the blue lake sparkled and glimmered in the sunlight. As Nancy drove into the camp, a group of girls gathered about her car. Helen came running out of a cabin to meet her chum. Girls, it's Nancy Drew, she explained joyfully and made introductions. Nancy did not know any of the campers, but in no time they made her feel warmly welcome. Nancy, said Helen, park your car back of the dining hall, then come have lunch. That sounds wonderful, Nancy laughed. I'm really starved. First, she was escorted to the main building where she met Aunt Martha, the camp director, and the registered. May she stay with me? Helen asked. Certainly, dear, and I hope you have a splendid time, Nancy. I'm sure I shall, Aunt Martha. As the two girls walked off, Nancy told Helen about selling the charity dance tickets and gave her the money paid by Mr. Toffin. He surely was generous, Helen commented in surprise. Then she smiled wryly. I have a feeling he did it more for social prestige than sympathy for the cause. Nancy scarcely had time to deposit her suitcase under her coat and freshen up after the long ride when lunch was announced by the ringing of a bell. Campers hurried from all directions to the dining hall. The food was plain but appetizing, and Nancy ate with zest. The meal over, she was rushed from one activity to another. The girls insisted that she join them in a hike. Then came a cooling dip in the lake. Nancy enjoyed herself immensely, but the Crawleys' mystery was never far from her mind. I must find out where the Turfim's cottage is located, she reminded herself, and next managed to go there alone. Nancy's opportunity to accomplish the first part of her quest came when Helen suggested about 5 o'clock, how about going for a ride round the lake in the camp launch? That's just time before supper. Wonderful, Nancy accepted readily. By the way, can you see many of the summer cottages from the water? Oh, yes, lots of them. Helen led her friend down to a small clock and with 4 other girls climbed into a launch, a medium sized craft. As one of the campers started the motor, Helen remarked, "It's always a relief to us when this engine starts. Once in a while it barks, but never know where or where." Yes, spoke up a girl named Barbie. And when you're stuck this time of year, you're stuck. There are hardly any cottages up here yet, so their boats are still in winter storage. As the little launch turned out into the lake, Nancy was entranced with the beautiful sight before her. The delicate azure blue of the sky and the mellow gold of the late afternoon sun were reflected in the shimmering surface of the water. What a lovely scene from an oil painting, she thought. As they sped along, however, Nancy kept glancing at the cottages intermingling with tall evergreen trees that bordered the shoreline. "The Toffims have a bungalow up here, haven't they?" she questioned casually. "Yes, it's across the lake," Helen replied. "We'll come to it soon." "Is anyone staying there now?" "Oh no, the cottage is closed. It's been looked after by Jeff Tucker, the caretaker. He's the tallest, skinniest man I have ever seen outside a circus." "Is it hard to get to the place?" "Not if you go by launch, but it's a long way if you take the road around the lake." Helen looked at her friend. "I didn't know you were particularly interested in the Toffins, Nancy." "Oh, they are not friend of mine, as you know," Nancy returned hastily. "I was merely curious." After a time, as the launch slowed down and chuckled along close to the shore, Helen pointed out a wide path through the woods. At the end of it stood a large, rambling white cottage. "That's the Toffins' place," she said. Trying not to appear too eager, Nancy looked intently at the bungalow. She made a quick mental note of its location. "Tomorrow I'll visit the place and try to solve the mystery," she told herself. Will Nancy go back tomorrow to the old bungalow? Stay tuned for the next chapter. Have a happy day.